There we go. Now we
Hello?
are live. Hello,
Yes.
hello.
Hi.
Hey,
Hi guys.
Hey. Hello,
Hi.
hello.
Hi.
All right. So how do we get this started? We start with introducing ourselves, I'd imagine.
Yes. I think it's a good idea.
Okay. So I am Sixth. I'm a top 500 tank player who
I like how you had to say
a
top
lot,
of
so that's me.
Hi, my name is Booger. I'm the silly guy that got GM first on Life Rework, and before that I was before that I was instant player. But now I'm kinda playing mostly but also very well versed in tank gameplay, obviously.
and I'm Alec, lead hero designer on Overwatch 2. Also love
Sweet.
playing Roadhog as well.
You love playing
Oh,
Yes.
Roadhog enjoyer.
Roadhog.
Sweet. Nice. Okay.
10% more volume. Okay.
All right, so we should get this started. I guess I can start this off with the first question, right? So, tell us about the rework. What are some of the goals that you wanted to hit with this rework?
Yeah, I think overall, the rework started in a different place than where it ended up, right? So probably started some very early ideation back in February/March. So when we did some early playtesting of some things. And at that point in time, the original goals that we talked about on the team were, hey, more focus on helping allies, reduce the pains of the hook combo and the one shot and everything. So very these broad sort of things. Eventually, those shifted a little bit. We want to increase his ability to protect his team still, but we were recognizing we want to do that by claiming more space on the battlefield in particular, maintain his overall identity and play style, and then move some of his power around so it isn't so tied into the one shot, but it wasn't necessarily about reducing the pains as much. I think, when we're talking about the Roadhog rework, like the context we're looking at is like last December, last January, when Roadhog was one of the more popular tanks in the game, and there's a lot of outcry there about, his one shot in particular and hook combo. If we look at it, we don't think it's necessarily something that had to like go away completely. It's just something that we can move some of the power around and make it and you'll see that with sort of the ability Pigpen that we're going to talk about today, where you can still do that. It's just a little bit different the way you may be achieving that. And even on live, you can still do it. It's just a bit more a little bit more convoluted about the steps to achieve the hook one shot, the hook combo, as we like to call it.
Right on.
All
Okay.
right.
Well, I don't think a lot of the viewers were caught up to speed with the patch notes. So, do you want to go like in depth on what what got changed, and yeah, just pretty much talk about the rework, because I'm pretty sure the patch notes didn't get public, so not.
Yeah, there was no patch notes
Yeah, those
whatsoever.
are going live tomorrow, actually, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah,
Ooh.
so let's do a general overview.
Yeah.
So your main three things here. We'll talk about the things that are changing, then we'll talk about the new thing last. But the first thing here is scrap gun. So that's becoming just your primary fire. So the right click is gone entirely. And now with that primary fire, it's this volley of shotgun projectiles that are now at the core of it. There's these 4 large projectiles. So what this effectively does, and it makes Roadhog a lot better at range in particular. He can. It's not necessarily like he's not a sniping character by any means. He's not playing that sort of range, but this allows him to be much more effective at poking, things like that. These are these chunky, large projectiles in the middle of this
Chat.
volley.
Six has his
that
patch
actually
notes on
deal
his
each
stream.
deal
Yes, if you
15
say it
damage
like 20 more
there. So
times, I'd probably see
it's
it
a
the
shotgun blast,
21st time.
Sort of with some of the old right
Or the
click in
40th time.
middle of it.
Okay, can you guys say it one
one
more
of the things
time so
we
I make sure he has the
recognized
patch notes on his stream?
throughout development here was there was
That we
just a
just
lot of
read 5 minutes ago?
space that was being eaten away by both of these on left click and right click. And we thought by making some sort of combination fire that we have today, it actually allows Roadhog to play the same way as he did before in a lot of ways. He doesn't have necessarily the surprise damage burst that he had with his old right click, but he's much more effective, much more consistent with his damage with this new primary fire.
Right on.
Then moving on after that, Take a Breather saw some big changes. So that's moving from the E actually to the right click. So
what? Take a Breather's on the right click?
Doing a lot of changes in control scheme, but we found this is the rework. This is the time to do it if we're ever going to do it. And this is now a resource, so it operates similar to D.Va's defense matrix. So now you have this bar of resources you're able to use Take a Breather on. it takes 12 seconds to get the whole thing back to recharge, but if you actually use all of it, you're getting 450 health over 3 seconds, right? There's some tweaks there too. Damage reduction's down a little bit, but you can use this very flexible. There's all flexibility here. You can use this whenever you want. You
Wait,
pop
it's
it
a
in for second,
bar.
take it off. You'll have a second cooldown before you can use it again. So this allows Roadhog to be very flexible with when he's tanking and how much of the ability he needs to use at one time in particular. It's probably the main way he's actually increasing his effectiveness as a tank overall. And then finally, his new ability.
Wait, why does his 7TV emotes work? My 7TV emotes don't work.
Roadhog throws down onto the ground. It will sink into the ground just like one of Junkrat's traps, right? But when someone gets near it, it pops them up a little bit into the air, and then does some damage on the trigger, so it's 60 damage, and then does a slow in an area. So there's a big area there. It's about almost 4-meter radius where they'll apply a slow and deal damage over time. It's 90 damage over 3 seconds, and it slows enemies up to slows enemies for 40%. So this is something you can destroy if you see it beforehand, like Junkrat's trap. But once it's active, it isn't able to be destroyed, and it's 3 seconds active there on the field with the slow being applied. So this ability in particular was something that we added. So this allows Roadhog to take more space. And it also allows him to deal more damage with his hook ability, because you can actually drag people over the pig pen. It'll deal damage there. Then you're able to get the combo's a lot more effective. This is the way we think he's going to be able to just sometimes even protect allies, throw the trap down for them. They can have a little bit of protection while they're in an area that they may be more vulnerable in. So this one's been a lot of fun. It's actually one of the things that came a bit later into the rework experience that we were looking at. So I think that those are the main things that are changing here.
I want to ask, if you don't mind, Six, I'm going to ask about the pig pen. We both had the same question, basically. So the question is, how will Pigpen interact with heroes that have movement abilities? For example, Genji Dash or Winston Leap. Will they be able to escape the trap? Or is it going to work like Grav, where they're stuck and they can't escape? They're forced to be in there.
They're just slowed. So they can still use their movement abilities. They're not mobility locked in that way. We tried some early versions that had mobility lock. I think it's one of the things we're not looking to add more hindered effects in the game at the moment. We think this soft CC, if that burns the mobility from them, that's okay. But remember, they also get popped up initially. Roadhog has an opportunity then to hook them and things like that when they do trigger the trap. So. Yeah, but no, it does not hinder them.
Do they move towards the center? Like, is it like kind of like throw the projectile? It just slows them. That's it?
No, it just slows them for 40%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you throw it? Is it like Junkrat? Does he like throw it far, or is it like he places it like right in front of himself? Like, what's the like the throwing range on that?
Yeah, it's similar to Junkrat in that sense. You can we can throw it, look up, we'll get a little bit more range on it. There's iterations where you can throw it really far, but we didn't want necessarily when people get hooked in. You can kind of throw it way behind them and try to catch them from too far away. It didn't necessarily incentivize the gameplay we're looking for. But Pigpen in particular went through a lot of iteration. I think one of the first ones we had here where we were messing around with was called caltrops at one point in time. So imagine instead of one trap, there was a lot of mini little traps.
Oh, hell no.
10 to 12 of them.
Oh, hell no.
And they did similar things where it would deal some damage and slow, but there was a lot of cleanup going on from the enemy side, right? You just had to get rid of all these little caltrops.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, exactly. I think it made a lot of sense to have all these little scrap, scattered around the battlefield that Roadhog would put out. But it was just one of those things. I think it was right around we were iterating on this ability right around when Lifeweaver came out. There's just a lot of deployables and things like that were being added to the game, and we just wanted to shrink it down to one entity in particular.
I have an additional question for the it's a projectile, right? Can you eat it with Diva or deflect it?
Yes.
Both?
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
I'll have to double check on the deflect there. I'm pretty sure you can eat it. Yeah.
I don't think you're able to eat Junkrat's trap.
No.
If I'm not mistaken, or deflect it.
That's why I'm asking. You can't deflect or eat it, but maybe Roadhog projectile works different.
I'll have to double check on that interaction in particular.
Right on. Okay, so how do you expect like players to use this trap? Like realistically, do you expect them to like put it away from the team or like
No, Diva
with
cannot
Roadhog,
eat
or how
Junkrat's
do you
trap
expect players to
now.
use this?
So a lot of times, what we'll see, you can in tight chokes, it can be fairly effective. If you don't necessarily want to play it like directly in sight though. Kind of want to play it maybe into the corner of a choke, right? So when they, people come around the corner, that's when they hit it. Also, if you are Roadhog, you can hook them in and then turn
Diva can eat
enemies
Junkrat's
into
trap.
the
I saw it on
which
this
can
one
be quite
website.
effective.
I
We've
bet
seen
you're
a
gonna
lot
say
of that,
TikTok, bro.
type of gameplay.
I
We've seen
swear.
sometimes where you throw it near one of your supports perhaps and try to give them a little bit of area. But a lot of
Kazume,
times,
Preacher Master 9
what we're
months.
seeing and what we find effective
Wally,
is
Preacher Master 17
place
months.
it
Ghost,
in
Preacher Master 18.
areas where
Rem for 10,
Roadhog
appreciate it.
knows where it is. He can get the hook combo, turn into it, and also it can be something that the enemies don't see coming, right? So it's something that is placed to the corner, something right around a corner where they'll walk into it a bit more.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
So
I want to
when
ask
you guys were, like,
one thing. Sorry,
okay,
Six.
go ahead.
So there's the pig pen. So it's kind of like Junkrat trap. So do we assume
He
that
does
it
have
has
hooks, though,
HP?
yes.
And if it does have HP, how much HP does it have?
Yeah, it has HP. It's 100 HP.
Can you break it after it traps people or only
No.
before? Okay.
Only before. We had some iterations where you could break it after, but as we were looking at sort of like even the current game state, there's a lot of things you're shooting at right now at the moment that aren't necessarily enemies, and we didn't want to increase that even more by having something that you can shoot it before, but then you always felt like you had to shoot it afterwards too. Just want to eliminate that.
Okay. Okay. So when you guys were working on the rework, there were like a lot of theories floating around that he was gonna get like a shield or like some sort of ability, like Hog's gonna like be able to throw his hook and grapple. So what made you guys like settle on a trap ability?
Well, we tried a lot of things, right? I think even there with
Imagine
the hook
Hook.
in
Imagine
particular, there
Roadhog
was
grappling up
bunch
like
of
a fucking
iterations. There was one
Widowmaker.
iteration where you actually did hook someone in and then you just held them there for I think like a second and a half, but it didn't really fit Overwatch's fast-paced gameplay, right? I think there are other abilities. We tried a ton of passives. That was something we really wanted to look at. That's where we first identified space, where it was like
Walk
maybe
in,
he
Preacher
has
Master
this
6
breaking
months.
aura, or maybe he can deal damage
Appreciate it.
around him in some way, or maybe teammates are taking less damage because Roadhog is their bodyguard and he's nearby them, right? So we tried a ton of stuff, but really what turned the corner for us was, I think initially this rework was looking at getting away a little bit from Roadhog's identity. We were getting away from the combo, getting away from some of the way he played previously, but I think we all looked around, we're like, this is the thing we love about Roadhog. This is the thing that I think people that play Roadhog a lot, this is the thing they love about Roadhog. So we didn't want to necessarily shoehorn Roadhog into, this broad goal of he must be a tank in Overwatch 2 terms and must play this way, right? He must have an ability that protects his team in this way. He must have this other thing. And then you get into like this build-a-blocks area where it's like all the tanks could, kind of feel the same. Right, so Roadhog in particular, like how does he tank in our game, and how could we better equip him to do that and can play into his strengths a little bit? So actually, after trying a ton of stuff, we did something really simple. We put a slow on the melee at one point in time, and we're like, okay, we kind of like how the slow plays a little bit with the rest of his kit. We kind of like some of the, and then we went to the cow traps, and we had a pig pen, and it's sort of this thing. But like we went really wide early on. We did even, I think there's a lot of theories about like a butt slam and things like that. We actually did.
A butt slam?
Jumping into the air and slamming down.
What?
It
just
felt
kept
a little, it felt a little odd overall to like how he was playing.
What the? What? Bro, I'd let Roadhog butt slam me, bro. How much damage would it do?
How do people want to play Roadhog? And then how can we just make that even a better experience? How can we make that tanking as Roadhog in Overwatch 2 more flexible than it was?
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say,
does Roadhog Rework have a release date? Yes, tomorrow.
I got a little nervous. But as time went on and I learned more about it, I was like, yeah, no, I mean, keeping his core identity, keeping the gameplay, all sounds great, and I think you guys actually pulled it off.
Booger looks like he wants to kill someone.
Okay, so my next question would be like, if I'm like a soldier 76, right, and I walk into Pigpen, how do I know that I got activated? How do I know I'm like in trouble?
Yeah,
Like,
so
what's the player feedback?
a lot of that's going to be, sound and visual cues, right? So there are unique sounds that play like on the trigger and on the slow. The slow itself is this area that's actually being electrified. So it's kind of like the fantasy is that there's these like sort of, if you ever go to maybe a LAN or something and you see a bunch of wires or just like kind of in a bad power strip, right? It's kind of like these frayed wires everywhere that have these electrical
Boger
current
definitely doesn't
going.
like the new Roadhog. It doesn't matter, bro. He plays
and
Lifeweaver. Someone
so the
goes
trap
into
will play,
Roadhog's pig
and then
pen
you'll
and gets
see
slowed.
actually
Guess what?
on your
Guess what
screen the
Boger's gonna do?
generalized slow effects too. You see that VFX in your 1P, and you also see the damage coming from the bottom. So we did some things to just make sure that the sound and the VFX are sort of giving you that information. The trap also is sunken beforehand, but then when it triggers, it raises up and releases these wires, and then so the area actually expands. There's this kind of big trigger moment that happens that our VFX team did a great
We'll
job
see that
of
tomorrow,
modeling
chat, when it goes
animation
live. We're gonna
and
do it
making
on
a good job
stream.
Right on, right on. Boger,
You
have a
have
question?
no. I'm pretty sure you have another question, unless you asked about Pigpen, and then afterwards, I think we should go back into the core gameplay of Roadhog. Do you have any more questions for Pigpen?
Let me see. Oh, right. So does Pigpen's cooldown, does it start ticking like when the ability is placed, or does like the cooldown start after it gets like triggered or destroyed?
Yeah, so right after you throw it, the cooldown starts. That's a 12-second cooldown. So you could have one out
Wait,
and
do
have
me.
one
What
ready
do you
to
mean?
go,
Do me on
like,
stream
right
next?
after
What?
too.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's
Does
big.
it traps multiple people, right? Or one?
Anyone in the area.
Okay.
So the trigger radius is smaller than the actual damage radius. So the trigger radius is going to be 2 meters, but then once it
Wait,
expands,
did he
once the
say
traps get
2?
triggered, that's
You
gonna
can
be
have like
3.8
2
meters
down. Did he say you
at
can
that
have 2
point.
down?
So anyone
Right.
who's in it is getting slowed and damaged. If you're in the trigger radius when it first pops up, you'll take the initial 60 though too.
1 down,
Alright.
1.
I do
Oh,
want to
2
ask a few
meters.
questions outside of Pigpen, just more about Roadhog. For example, if people are gonna ask,
I think you can place the
is
second
he
and the
still gonna
first
be able
appears.
to pull off his,
Oh.
hook one shot, hook melee one shot, or whatever? Is that still gonna be a threat? Are people gonna be worried about it, or or are you gonna have to play around Pigpen a little bit more to actually pull off consistent one shots?
You'll still be able to do it, and the way you were doing previously, where you kind of, you have to shoot, walk forward, and things like that in that melee. But what you'll be able to do with Pigpen in particular, it would just make that a lot easier. You'll be able to just hook and shoot, depending on like how much HP the character may have, and if you get the headshot right. So you'll kind of
What's
have
your
these
peak?
moments where
Silver
hooking through a
5.
Pigpen feels like the old combo, in terms of the ease of use there.
All right. Wait. One more. And then your turn. I think a lot of Roadhog players are probably afraid that you might push them away, because every time every time the dev team announces a rework, a lot of people, are really against it. So I was wondering, are you worried yourself that you might push away a lot of old school Roadhog players by changing his core playstyle? And do you think
Look at
you've changed
6.
his
6
core
is
playstyle,
smiling, bro.
or do you
6
think
is
you've managed
smiling,
to
bro.
maintain it pretty well?
Well, overall, I'd say not worried about that in particular. I think there are some things, that we recognize that, not everything, there's some things that got lost, right? I think you lost a little bit of the nuance of the right click in particular, and that spacing element that we had previously at Roadhog's kit, where you try to get the right click to explode right where they are and get all that burst of damage. But overall, I think Roadhog is still playing fairly similar in the sense of, he is a tank that wants to maybe, go on his own a little bit, is a tank that can protect himself, is a tank that can achieve kills and secure those kills more easily than some other tanks might. So overall, if you like that sort of that part about Roadhog, that's still intact. That was something we wanted to make sure was intact overall.
All right. So how does the rework primary fire like feel mid fight? Like, so it went from 25 pellets to 16 pellets with 4 larger shrapnels. So how does that feel mid team fight when you're not using Pigpen and you're not using your hook?
It's chunky. I think it's quite chunky. I think Roadhog will still be dealing a lot of damage.
Oh, shit.
It's
Okay.
one of those things where some of the things we were kind of worried about at one point. So actually, there's a decrease in the critical hit multiplier now. So that's what goes from 2 to 1.5 on the primary fire in particular. Roadhog was dealing a lot of damage overall.
Wait, his
so
crit multiplier went from 2 to
this one feels good,
1.5?
though. I think you'll see mid fight. You don't find a ton of difference compared to using old primary. Like it depends on the range. But once you're starting to poke or you're starting to even do things like try to take out a turret and stuff like that, it feels a lot more consistent, a lot more reliable.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like mixing between the old primary fire and the secondary fire, pretty much. Right on.
Yeah, that was we kind of came in one day and we're like, okay, there's not enough design space here. We were doing a bunch of things. We were layering things on top of Roadhog, like I said, like passives and things like that. Whereas like something had to give, and I think the opportunity was there to really look at the primary and secondary fire and feel like if we could marry them in a way that achieved Roadhog's identity still and kept that all intact, I think that was our goal. And I think overall there, as I said, you lose a little bit of the spacing gameplay he had previously. You still have that with the hook and the pigment
What
and
the
everything, right?
fuck is this, bro?
Speaking
What
of the
the fuck?
primary fire, are his shots now hit scan projectile, a mix of both, or just hit scan or just projectile?
Or projectiles.
Projectiles like before. It's just basically the
Yeah.
two mouse 1, mouse 2.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does the rework primary fire feel during the hook combo, like with and without Pigpen?
Sorry, how does the primary fire feel with the hook, but with and without Pigpen is the question, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good. It feels pretty great. I think you still hook a tracer in and shoot the tracer, you're going to be doing quite well there, right?
Oh, great.
With
That's not
Pigpen,
something
though,
I
it
want to
just
hear.
it feels like you can actually get the combo off fairly reliably.
So what? You throw the pig pen under your feet, you hook them, and then you shoot them.
Sometimes,
and then okay.
yeah. I mean, they might be able
That's
to see
actually,
that, right?
that's
I mean,
a really good combo, actually.
It's like a
If you
gray
throw the
slash
pigpen down
metallic
under
silver
you and you
dome,
hook like a
that
tank,
they
and then the
they can
tank
shoot.
is pulled
So if
into
they do
you,
see it in the
and then
open like
they
that,
also get
so a lot of times,
slowed,
like I said,
and they
you'll,
can't get out, that's
Roadhog
actually a
will be
really
kind of
good
guarding a
combo.
choke or something, or at least like strafing between.
So they
a
take the
choke,
damage
right?
from the hook, they take
And
the
then
damage from the
Pigpen will be
pigpen,
maybe
they
to
take the
his
damage from the
right there, right around the
AoE
corner,
over
try to
and
hook in,
the damage over
turn,
time,
and then
and they take
fire,
damage from the
they'll
shot.
secure the kill.
That's a crazy fucking
We
combo
see
right there.
We've seen a lot of that in our playtests. I think even some of the playtests we did with.
I'm gonna be
y'all,
honest with
we
you.
saw
If I
that
start
was
my
some of the
stream
ways
tomorrow
we
and the
used
Roadhog rework is live and that happens to me,
Okay,
I'm putting my hand right through my fucking monitor.
Roadhog's secondary fire like always the main thing on like the chopping block?
I don't think it started there. I think initially we were actually on board with complicating Roadhog a bit more. I think we looked at his kit overall. We felt there was room for complexity in the old kit, and we could take some of that. So passives were really the first thing we looked at. Layering
Oh,
something on top of him.
how do you do that?
Whether that be a passive that did damage reduction for his allies, whether that be something where
How do I
maybe
fix that, Meg?
we were looking at passive similar to Malga's passive, where he could kind of keep himself up a little bit more. There was one where we wanted Roadhog to be like scary when he was low health because we were playing this whole ferocity element of him, sort of being this big threatening presence, and was like, okay, Roadhog's low health, has more attack speed, right? There's one we played with, it was like a vendetta / revenge angle where if one of your teammates died, Roadhog could see where that killer was, like on the enemy team, and he could like go hunt them down. So it's like, Roadhog was like, "I'm gonna get you, right? Like, I'm gonna come and hook you." Roadhog with walls is really scary, by the way.
Wow.
So it probably wasn't
I
the thing
like
we
that
wanted
idea.
all the time. It
Sounds
was
fun.
That's one thing we do not need in this game. More fucking wall hacks.
That space of, well, there's room here for complexity, and I think as the game continues to mature and continues to evolve, naturally some things might get it's slightly more complex. But I think it really came down to, let's break down some of the elements here. How much use and effectiveness are they getting within the kit itself in terms of the overall design space? for what our goals are here. And at that point, we were like, okay, we wanted a new ability.
Okay, chat. I
button that you
think
actually
the 7
press,
TV emotes are working
and,
again.
we had
Can I
to
get like a
primary,
woof?
secondary fires, sort of things that weren't by themselves individually taking up as much, being as effective as we
Yeah,
wanted
there
them
you go.
design-wise,
I fixed them, chat.
but in their combination they were. So we tried to marry them.
Thank you.
Way.
So, okay, but about Roadhog, for example, he's pretty unique in the sense that he's very solo-oriented. Every time people play him, they flank around. So with this rework, was your plan to, you know, make him more team-oriented in a way, or to keep him in the same niche where he can still flank around, still get the kills, and not really care about it?
Invictus,
Because when
Priest
you
like
play
3
with the
years.
team with
Zergon,
Roadhog,
Priest
you
on
might
11
suffer
months.
a lot. Usually you want to flank, you want to get some kills, you know, make some opportunities for your team. So what was the main thought process?
Yeah, we started in a place where we wanted to bring Roadhog more in line with the team, or encourage his allies to play more with him or something, right? And that was like a lot of these like AoE effect passive things were coming into play. And when we went to take
Can
a
you watch
breather,
other
and
streamers
was
that
sort
are
of the
watching
ability
Bogus
we
stream,
wanted
please?
to
Yeah, I got you.
first look at.
Okay. This is the Roadhog Reworks, chat. So you have the scrap gun. Previous secondary fire functionality has been removed.
Yeah, let's go.
Total damage per shot has increased from 150 to 160.
I was just about to ask about that. I couldn't find your emote page until a few seconds ago.
Shotgun pellet count reduced from 25 to 16. So he has less shotgun pellets, but does more damage per shot. Shotgun pellet damage increased from 6 to 6.25. Now fires a shrapnel volley of 4 large projectiles in the center of the shot. Each shrapnel projectile deals 15 damage. And critical damage multiplier reduced from 2 times to 1.5. I'm gonna be honest with you, I really thought, that the take a breather was gonna heal people, like, that are close to his, like, proximity. That's what I thought. Take a breather, now activated, now activated by holding secondary fire. Cooldown for each use decreased from 8 seconds to 1 second. Wait, cooldown for each use decreased from 8 seconds to 1 second. Holy shit. So, like he's saying, it's like a diva defense matrix. You're gonna be able to, like, heal yourself and not use the full heal, chat. A new resource meter has been added. This meter will deplete while take a breather is active in the recharge when it's not in use. That's what they basically said. So you can use your healer, like, anytime, whenever you want now. Take a breather requires 12 seconds to reach full charge from empty. At full charge, take a breather can heal up to 450 health over 3 seconds. Take a breather will now remain active as long as it's assigned hotkey is held. An add option to toggle take a breather has been added under options controls Roadhog. Damage reduction decreased from 50 to 30%. Damn! That's crazy, bro. 50 to 30%. Okay. No longer amplifies healing received upon ending. Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay, Pig Pen. This new ability assigned to ability 2 by default. Launch a trap that slows and damages nearby enemies. Deals 60 damage when triggered and 30 damage per second in an area. 3-second duration once activated. So that's 30, 60, 90, chat. That's 90 damage. 40%. Oh, that's 90 damage on top of the 60. So you're doing 150 damage. A 40% movement speed slow. And cooldown is 12 seconds. Very interesting. Ugh. it's not gonna one-shot a tracer. So if a tracer goes on top of the trap, it's gonna do 60 damage. And then you're gonna be able to get out, because you have 3 seconds until it does that 150 damage, because 30 damage per second. So if you stand on it, you could recall. If you stand on it, you could blink out. You could still, I'm pretty sure, use your movement abilities. I'm pretty sure that's what the guy said as well. And you can also kill the trap. The trap, they said, has 100 HP. So tomorrow, chat, when the changes go live, we'll be trying them out. Just as a